Some things to keep in mind. The best way to get the chimpanzee off the roof is, as Wittgenstein did not write in Proposition 5.62, we are making decisions that flow from ancient social instincts. Freedom was not what he wanted, only a way out. This is the story of the ellipsis. The ellipsis begins here. Please locate the dot that is turned into a period. For a long time, it has seemed too late to learn from the language, or to learn from one another's, or even one's own other languages. Clearly, the thing to do is fast forward from this point on, or some other point on, as before, good luck, etc. By now, it's already time to fill out the timesheets, time to move on to the next space-time unit, on to the next words, these, those words in all the vocabularies, where too many echoes are drowning them in their own noise. What does it matter, we ask. Don't dwell on the fact that the words will never be understood before it's time to move on. There is no other kind of time. In the news photo, the couch appears to be floating on the rubble. I can't get this out of my mind. Meanwhile, the last space-time unit is full of all that could have happened in it. The last words have been used in the only way they could have been used. No turning back, no changing these, those things now, except insofar as they reside in the present space-time unit we are now occupying. There appears to be only this, that space-time unit, these, those words now. Two children are sitting on the couch that appears to be floating on the rubble. I can't tell much about them, can't see them clearly, can't get them out of my mind. The simultaneous translation begins not in another language, but in the very one we have been using all along, that language where all the words continue to await translation. The children sitting on the couch that appears to be floating on the rubble of their home seem to have dazed eyes. Perhaps their eyes are clearly focused. Their feet stick out over the cushions, out over the rubble, into my mind. These, those prepositions are translating themselves out of this, that language, but into no other. This would-be revelatory zone was once thought to be a social space, but now seems only to be an archive. In another photo, a woman sits on a couch that appears to be floating on the rubble of her home. Her head is tilted toward her lap, hiding her eyes. A man standing on the periphery is just out of focus. It's impossible to determine the direction of his gaze. These indistinct figures inhabit my mind. It is evident now that the emptiness of these, those words is precisely what is forcing us, them, to use more and more of them. Yes, no, please forget everything just said. No looking back, just move on. Please, you must move on in order to move on. Just fast forward to any new space-time unit. Yes, no, it's too late, but not too late for these, those, us, them. Well, I, we, I don't know. The odd construction of this language may reflect any one or more of the informal fallacies that mar their understanding of these, those things. For a very long time, these, those fallacies have looked like the virtues they had become. That is now, this is what it is. Is this the it, the how, the only way of what has been known as history, contrary to its own rumors continuing to appear to move on? From one photo to the next, the rubble is rising. Only black and white or fading colored dots remain. On the weathered and torn pages, only minute areas of shadow and illumination that might or might not have composed an image remain. A digital image would, of course, remain perfectly clear. From one word to the next, she, he said in the translation, from the translation of the translation, we must always return to zero. Is this, that really possible by now? And or was it ever? Is there by now time to even begin to find out what is meant by these, those words in any translation? Some things to keep in mind. When you locate the dot that is turned into a period, do not hesitate to let everyone know if you have any questions. Do not hesitate to start a project, to stay in motion. Do not hesitate to go faster and faster until the lines between space-time units begin to blur. Do not hesitate to go back to Zeno's laws against motion, to discover what happens if you hesitate. Do not hesitate to try to understand Proposition 5.6 and dispute it as it did its author for the rest of his wonderful life. What has one done when one has written such words? I'm going to read now a couple of pieces from a project that is almost finished called the Bosch Bookshelf. And these are entries in the Bosch notebooks. The Angles of Hieronymus Bosch. For the child Hieronymus Bosch, drawing his practice angles, his polymorphous bodies with bird heads, lizard legs, bat and insect, and Icarus wings, these creatures were not intermediate between gods, just and demonic, and the hapless human, but dwelled in and among women and men he saw daily, the many souls of Hertogenbosch and its surroundings, in daily consort with strange creatures of dreams and waking, amphibians of land and water, fishes and mammals, fanciful and real, the skimming, slinking, hopping, prowling, rutting, growling, scheming, gnawing, lumbering, trotting animals of the good and treacherous earth. Not much is known about the life of Hieronymus Bosch, yet there is no doubt she took pleasure in the immense variety of angles.